And welcome back. So now we're going to talk about transgenic organisms, often called genetically modified organisms or GMOs. And so in these organisms, they have DNA from more than one source inside. And so they can typically, or they often produce products that are products of biotechnology. Transgenic bacteria can be grown in bioreactors, and they can express genes that are not normal for that species to produce. So things like insulin or human growth hormone are examples of materials that they're going to be able to produce. Transgenic bacteria can also be used as organisms that can degrade substances that they typically couldn't degrade. So think about oil spills. A lot of times we use transgenic organisms, bacteria specifically, to help and get rid of the damage from the oil that was spilt into water. They pour this bacteria over the area, and the bacteria can utilize that oil and get rid of it so that it doesn't cause damage to the ecosystem in that area. We also have transgenic plants. So transgenic plants are plants that have had foreign genes inserted into them. And so these are typically inserted into the plant embryo. And once that happens, the plants then are going to be grown and they're going to have unique characteristics. So examples, we have pomatos. Pomatos are plants that produce potato below the ground at where the roots would be, and then they produce tomatoes above the ground. So this allows us to produce two plants in an environment where normally only one plant would grow. Then you have some plants that can be destroyed because of insects. And so we have pest resistant genes that we put into certain plants, and that eliminates the ability of insects to kill off the plant, because when the insects bite into the plant or take part in that plant, what happens is the plant itself is going to kill off the insects. We also have resistant soybeans to herbicides. So an herbicide is something that will kill off plants in general. So we use them to kill off weeds, but we don't want to kill off our plants that we intend to grow. So we can spray these herbicides over the entire area and not damage the plants that we care about. So one example of a plant that we have converted or produced as transgenic is called golden rice. Ooh, there we go. Golden rice is a rice that contains beta carotene in it, which is why it looks that golden color or has that golden color. So this is important because we need beta carotene to protect us. It functions in our immune system. It helps us with sight. And in countries where they're getting more than half of their nutrients from rice alone, so most of the food they eat is carbohydrate rich, and so rice is a very dense carbohydrate, they're now going to get some nutrients needed other than the energy that comes from the carbohydrate. So they're getting the beta carotene, that vitamin A that they need. And this allows them to, or individuals in those countries, to be able to see and to be healthier. And then, of course, we have transgenic animals. So transgenic animals are animals in which we insert genes into the eggs of the organism. So we take eggs out, we extract eggs, we then can insert genes into the eggs, we then can fertilize the egg and then place it back into the animal in the uterus, and that embryo will grow but will now contain specific genes, and then we can farm those genes from the animal for a long period of time. And so one way they do this is by taking and farming the milk from goats. And so let me show you that in the next slide. Here we have human growth hormone. That gene is taken out of a chromosome, and that human growth hormone gene is then injected into the egg of a goat. Okay, they take that egg, they then fertilize the egg, and they place the embryo inside the uterus of a host. That host then grows that embryo, gives birth to offspring, and the offspring now can produce growth hormone in their milk, and they can do this for a long period of time. And so you can continuously get that growth hormone from the milk. And so this is just showing multiple copies of the same eggs going into hosts producing multiple cloned transgenic goats that can all produce the cloned growth hormone in the milk. And so the last thing we're going to talk about then is gene therapy. And actually, I will stop this video and we'll get into one last video next. So have a great day, and I'll see you shortly. Bye.